I am from Miami. I was born here. My parents came from Cuba as teenagers. My dad's a graduate of Miami Edison High, or was. He passed away 3 months ago. But he graduated Miami Edison High. I was born here and raised mostly here. My dad was with Ford Motor Company, so we spent 6 years in Jacksonville, Florida. I got a little bit of Bubba in me. And did a year in Valencia, Venezuela with Ford. So I have.
And when did you go to Venezuela?
In 1982, 82 to 83, it was considered the last glorious year of Venezuela.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know. Like, what are your takes on that?
It's before the first devaluation that really led to the economic downfall. But when I was in Venezuela, it was considered one of the premier countries of the Western Hemisphere. A lot of people don't know this, but Disney and Epcot was supposed to have a Venezuela pavilion. It was in the original plans for Epcot. There was going to be a Venezuela pavilion. That's how prominent Venezuela was in the world in the late 70s, early 80s. And unfortunately, it breaks my heart what is going on there now. I hope that Maduro goes soon.
Right. What are your takes on what Trump has said at FIU? He was recently at FIU on the campus.
If Trump did what he did at FIU all the time and only did that and spent all his time bashing these third world socialist thugs, his poll numbers would be a lot higher than what they are.
If he continued that type of behavior. Okay, cool. So you obviously went to college. Well, where did you go and what did you major in? What did you
I went to Miami-Dade first for 2.5 years and then went to Florida State solely because that's where the state capital was. And I was in political science,
like political environment,
and history. Yeah, I interned in the House of Representatives. I started off as an intern for Bruce Hoffman, who was the state representative for this area back in the early '90s. And I was Bruce's intern, and then worked for State Senator Roberto Casas from Hialeah. And then finally, I was legislative aide to Carlos Valdez my last year in Tallahassee.
And what does a legislative aide do for some of the people that don't know what these positions are?
We are the eyes and ears of the representative. We file their bills, make sure their amendments get filed on time, set up their appointments. Sometimes we even have to go to committees to represent them on bills that they have filed. Right. So you are a state representative only has one aide in Tallahassee during session. So it's,
which we're in right now.
They do everything. Yes, we're in legislative session now.
Cool. And when you were that age, did you think that you were always going to be doing that? When did you know that I wanted to work in politics?
I knew I always wanted to be involved in politics. It's when I was 8 years old and we lived in Jacksonville. The mayor of Jacksonville, Hans Tansler, ran for governor, and my father was on his campaign staff.
Okay, so you were always involved kind of.
We traveled all around the state campaigning for Hans Tansler. And at 8 years old, that experience with the campaign was just amazing, and it instilled a love of politics for me. Right. I remember Ronald Reagan accepting the nomination of the Republican Party on my 10th birthday, the day I turned 10 years old, July 17th, 1980. Watching that, being enthralled. That was the first convention I watched. And
you were actually there with the...
No, I wasn't there. I watched it on TV. Okay. I've only been to one convention, and I can tell you...
How are those like? Because I've never been to one. Most of our people that watch this don't...
I can tell you... People find this counterintuitive. A political convention is much better on television than
it is in there. But it's really tense. So, at least from my take, whenever we go to like a Lincoln Day dinner or something like that, they're so tense. It's like everybody's
I went to the Minnesota convention because I was the head of the Republican lawyer team for McCain in 1998 here. So I went to that convention. And it was fun. It was a great experience. But there's a lot that's going on that the television coverage provides that if you're there on the floor or in the rafters, you really don't see.
Right. And so out of all the things that you've done today, so we're going to go through them, but what's something that is still on your list of things that you want to continue to do or something new that you might not be focusing your time on now?
Listen,
I'm a hobby or like a...
when I was... Part of the reason I ran for office to begin with was I had been a prosecutor in the juvenile court system, and I saw a lot of the problems with the juvenile system. And I ran for office, and I did a lot of things during my time there.
So cases that pertain to minors?
Yes. Okay. And these were kids, not just that were getting arrested, but that were getting arrested and perhaps had issues in other courts. And we saw that there wasn't a continuum of care for these kids. So I did a lot.
In between
between the other courts.
Okay.
We tried to spearhead a unified
So
family
like somebody
court.
got take. I mean, again, I'm trying to go to law school, but I don't know how the system works yet. A lot of people also don't know. So it's, let's say they had like a criminal charge. Okay, with them that goes in a criminal court, but because they're a minor and now gets taken into another court.
It's a criminal juvenile court.
Okay.
So juvenile court has two sides. It has the delinquency side, which is the criminal side, and then it has the dependency side. And these are kids that the state has filed an action to perhaps take the kids away from the parents, or the parents have shown that they are unfit, or are foster kids who were given up by their parents and are still in the system because they haven't been adopted yet. Any sort of governance over that system goes into the dependency side.
Understood.
So originally we used to have kids whose parents had left, these kids were on their own, they were foster kids, and then they got arrested and they were in the delinquency system that way. But recently we see kids who are under 18, they get arrested, they're in the delinquency system, but then they have kids of their own. So it's their babies are
also
in
in
the
that system
dependency
now,
system,
too.
and that's extremely sad. So you ask, one of the things I want to do still is I'm looking into getting involved with the guardian ad litem and the attorney ad litem program, so I can go and help represent and stand up for the rights of some of these kids in the system.
Wow, that's awesome, and that's what your work is based on. So is that a main reason why you decided to run for office as well?
After law school, after I was a legislative aide, I came back and I worked for Alex Pinellas, who was a county commissioner then. He later became our first executive mayor. And I worked for Alex Pinellas for 2 years, decided to go to law school, went to St. Thomas, ended up getting a job right after graduation with the state attorney's office. I thought I was going to run for office right after graduation.
So then why go to law school?
And decided not to. No, I went to law school because I knew I wanted the degree. I knew I wanted the training. And I thought I'd go to law school maybe just to get into politics. I didn't think I'd enjoy the practice. And I enjoyed my trial class so much that I decided not to run for office right away. And I went to the state attorney. And I did 3 years there, but that issue with juvenile court stuck in me, and I knew I would run it sometime. I ended up running in 2002 because we had an opportunity to have a Speaker of the House from Dade County, and now it's normal. We now have Jose Oliva from Miami-Dade County who's the Speaker of the House, and 10 years ago we had Marco Rubio. But in 2002, we hadn't had a Speaker of the House since Dick Pettigrew in the 60s, and we had never had a Cuban-American Speaker of the House. And Gaston Cantens was running to be Speaker of the House. He had been a prosecutor like me. He had been a state rep already for 4 years. And I ran against the one guy from Miami-Dade County who was not backing Gaston Cantens to be Speaker. And I thought that it was appalling, the fact that we had somebody from Miami-Dade who could be the top spot, and somebody from here wouldn't be backing him. So I ran against that guy and I beat him in the primary. And then from there, I did my 8 years. I had